My hands burned where I gripped the apartment transfer papers, the ink still wet from where Marcus had just signed. His name below mine. The notary's pen hung suspended over the signature line. As my mother-in-law's voice cut through the silence. Finally, someone in this family understands respect. The fluorescent lights in the law office suddenly felt too bright, too harsh. Against my skin. I could taste copper in my mouth as I stared at the document that would hand over my life's work. The apartment I'd bought with 3 years of double shifts saved for with ramen, dinners and no heat in winter. Marcus squeezed my shoulder, what he probably thought was reassuring, but his fingers dug in just hard enough to remind me who was supposed to be in control. Just sign it, Diana, he whispered near my ear. Mom needs the rental income more than we need the hassle. The notary cleared her throat. I do need your signature to complete the transfer. I looked down at the papers. My apartment, 306, Maple Street, 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors I'd refinished myself, reduced to legal jargon and property codes. Outside the office window, rush hour traffic moved in predictable patterns while my entire future balanced on the tip of a pen. My name is Diana. I'm 31 and I used to believe that marriage meant partnership. This is the story of how I learned it actually meant ownership. For 18 months, I'd watched Marcus transform from the man who'd helped me move my grandmother's antique dresser into that apartment to someone who saw my independence as a problem to solve. His mother, Patricia, had started visiting more frequently after the wedding, her sharp eyes cataloguing everything I'd built before her son entered my life. This place has such potential, she'd said during her first inspection, running her fingers along the crown molding I'd installed. Of course, it's wasted on someone who doesn't understand investment strategy. I should have recognized the pattern then. The way Marcus nodded along, how he stopped defending my decisions, the gradual shift from Diana's apartment to our place to finally the family asset. But I'd been raised to give people chances, to believe that love could overcome differences in values. The breaking point had come 3 weeks earlier, during Sunday dinner at Patricia's house. She'd placed a folder in front of me between the main course and dessert, her smile as sharp as her manicured nails. I've done some research, dear, she'd announced to the entire table. That little apartment of yours is in a rapidly appreciating neighborhood. If you transfer it to Marcus, he can handle the rental management professionally. Marcus hadn't met my eyes. It makes sense financially, DY. You're too busy with work to deal with tenant issues. Anyway, his sister Claire had laughed from across the table. Besides, what do you need your own place for now that you're married? It's not like you're going anywhere. The presumption in that statement had struck me like ice water. Not like you're going anywhere. As if my mobility, my options, my very ability to choose my own path was something they'd already decided for me. I'd tried explaining that the apartment wasn't just property. It was proof that I could take care of myself, evidence that I'd built something worthwhile before anyone else entered the equation. But Patricia had dismissed my attachment as sentimental nonsense, and Marcus had called it clinging to the past. Now, sitting in this sterile office with 3 pairs of eyes watching me hesitate, I understood that this wasn't about rental income or investment strategy. This was about erasing the last piece of evidence that I'd ever existed independently. The notary tapped her pen against the desk. I set the pen down carefully, my decision crystallizing with surprising clarity. I'm not signing this. Marcus blinked. What do you mean you're not signing? We already discussed You discussed? I interrupted. I listened. There's a difference. Patricia's face flushed. Diana, don't be ridiculous. This is a family decision. Exactly, I said, standing slowly. And I'm deciding what my family looks like. The silence in the room stretched tight. As a wire. Marcus reached for my arm. But I stepped back, creating space. Between us that suddenly felt much. Larger than a few inches. Diana, let's talk about this at home. He said, his voice taking on that careful tone he used when he thought I was being unreasonable. No, I said clearly. Let's talk about it right here, right now, with witnesses. I turned to Patricia, who was gripping her purse like armor. For 18 months, you've treated me like an obstacle to your son's success. You've criticized my cooking, my cleaning, my career, my friends, and now you want my home. I never, she started. You called my promotion at work lucky timing in front of his entire family. You told people I trapped Marcus into marriage. You've spent more time in my apartment than I have, rearranging my furniture and commenting on what needs to be fixed. Marcus stepped forward. Mom's just trying to help. Help with what? I snapped. Help erase me. Help prove that I don't deserve anything I worked for. The notary had stopped pretending to organize papers and was now watching with the fascination of someone witnessing a carefully controlled demolition. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the screenshots I'd been saving. Text messages between Marcus and his mother. Conversations I wasn't supposed to see, but had discovered when he'd left his phone unlocked. Diana is too attached to that apartment. I read aloud. We need to get her to sign it over before she gets any other ideas about independence. Marcus went pale. Diana, you're taking that out of context. And this one, I continued, once we control the apartment, she'll have to depend on us. Completely. No more of this feminist nonsense about supporting herself. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I never said. It's in writing, Patricia, with timestamps. The notary cleared her throat diplomatically. Perhaps we should reschedule this appointment. I shook my head. No need. There won't be a transfer. I looked directly at Marcus because there won't be a marriage. The words hung in the air like smoke. Marcus stepped back as if I'd physically pushed him. You don't mean that, he said. Quietly. I mean every word. I gathered my purse and the unsigned papers. You want to know what I realized sitting here? You never loved me. You loved the idea of managing me. Patricia found her voice. You're being dramatic. Every marriage requires compromise. Compromise isn't the same as erasure, I replied. And partnership isn't the same as ownership. I walked toward the door, then turned back to face them both. Marcus looked stunned, like someone had changed the rules of a game he thought he was winning. Patricia looked calculating, already planning her next move. One more thing, I said. Marcus, your key to my apartment stopped working yesterday. I had the locks changed. His jaw dropped. You can't just lock me out of my own. Your own what? I tilted my head. Your name isn't on the deed. Your name isn't on the mortgage. Your name isn't on a single utility bill. What exactly makes it yours? Patricia stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. A wife's property belongs to her husband. In 1952, maybe in 2025. In the state of New York, property belongs to whoever's name is on the legal documents. I smiled. And that's me. The realization hit them both simultaneously. For 18 months, they'd assumed my independence was temporary, a phase I'd outgrow once I understood how marriage was supposed to work. They'd never considered that I might choose to keep it. Diana, please, Marcus said, and for the first time in months, he sounded genuinely desperate rather than condescending. Let's go home and talk about this. I'm going home, I said, to my apartment. Alone. I left them standing in that office, Patricia's mouth still hanging open, Marcus's face cycling through disbelief, anger, and something that might have been panic. The notary was probably already composing the story. She'd tell her colleagues about the signature that started a revolution. Outside, the afternoon air felt different, cleaner somehow. I walked to my car with steady steps, my hands no longer shaking, my vision clearer than it had been in months. That evening, I sat in my living room with a cup of tea and the divorce papers I'd printed from my laptop. The apartment felt larger, somehow, like it had exhaled after holding its breath for too long. My grandmother's dresser caught the light from the window, solid and permanent. And mine. My phone buzzed with texts from Marcus, then calls I didn't answer, then messages from his entire family, explaining how I was destroying a good man's life over pride and selfishness. I read them all, then blocked each number. Methodically. Claire had sent the most revealing message. You think you're so independent, but who's going to take care of you now? You're nothing without my brother. I'd stared at that text for a long time before typing back. I'm about to find out what I am without him. And I can't wait. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed, in my own home, with my own choices, stretching out before me like an open road. I made coffee in my kitchen, sat at my table, and planned my day, according to no one's schedule but my own. 3 weeks after that confrontation in the law office, Marcus showed up at my door with flowers and apologies, explaining that he'd realized his mistakes and wanted to work things out. He looked thinner, less certain, like someone who'd lost something he'd taken for granted. I never meant to make you feel controlled, he said, through the intercom. I was trying to protect you. From what? I asked. From having to handle everything alone. I smiled, looking around my apartment. Bills paid on time, plants thriving, furniture arranged exactly how I wanted it. Marcus, I was never alone. I was just outnumbered. Diana, please can we at least talk face to face? I considered it briefly, then pressed the button to respond. We are talking face to face. You're looking at who I really am, probably for the first time. I don't understand. I know. That's why this won't work. I turned off the intercom and returned to my Sunday morning routine. Newspaper, crossword puzzle, phone call with my best friend Sarah, who'd been quietly celebrating my divorce for weeks. How does it feel? She asked. Like breathing. After being underwater for a year and a half. And Patricia, I laughed, posted on Facebook about ungrateful daughters-in-law and the decline of family values, then tried to friend request me yesterday. The audacity. The best part? Marcus called to ask if I'd consider selling him the apartment at below market value. You know, since he has emotional attachment to it now. Sarah snorted. Please tell me you said no. I told him I'd consider it for triple the current market value in cash, with a formal apology letter to be published in the local newspaper. You didn't? I absolutely did. He hung up on me. The divorce was finalized 2 months later with Marcus signing the papers without contest once he realized I had documented evidence of his family's manipulation tactics. Patricia's reaction to the news was predictable. She sent one final message, calling me selfish before I blocked her permanently. Looking back, I realized that signing those transfer papers would have been more than giving up property. It would have been agreeing to my own disappearance, consenting to become someone who existed only in relation to other people's needs and expectations. The apartment isn't just where I live. It's proof that I can create stability, beauty, and security for myself. It's evidence that my judgment is sound, my instincts are reliable, and my independence is earned, not granted. If you're reading this and feeling that familiar knot in your stomach because someone in your life treats your autonomy like a problem to solve, I want you to know something. Your independence isn't selfish. Your boundaries aren't negotiable. And your right to exist on your own terms isn't up for a family vote. The people who truly love you will celebrate your strength, not seek to diminish it. They'll want you to thrive, not just survive. And they'll see your success as something beautiful, not something threatening. That apartment taught me the most important lesson of my adult life. I don't need anyone's permission to take up space in the world. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.